love Oklahoma.
This is when I knew I was in trouble. Now, this moment is about 5 minutes into the new movie Twisters, and to be fair, it's not this line alone that had me worried, but it comes right after an introductory scene full of so much clunky science jargon serving as exposition, and my concerns were only confirmed a few minutes later when the first tornado appeared and I felt absolutely nothing. But I'll get to that later. I grew up in North Texas, smack dab in Tornado Alley, where tornado warnings and watches happen several times throughout the year. I was both fascinated and terrified of tornadoes. And so in 1996, when a 9-year-old me saw Twister in theaters, I fell in love.
Cal.
It was the first movie I actually saw twice in theaters. I was so obsessed with the movie and all things tornadoes that I actually wanted to be a storm chaser for a few years, before my fear of tornadoes eventually outweighed my fascination. So it's fair to say that I had high expectations for the sequel when it was first announced. I rewatched Twister for the first time in like a decade in preparation for the sequel, and as I suspected, it holds up as basically a flawless movie. And so with my expectations through the roof, I went to the theaters to go watch Twisters, and it's just not that good of a movie. I rewatched Twister and Twisters again, and the differences are as clear as day. All you have to do is compare the tornado scenes from each movie to see how the sequel falls short in almost every single way. And so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna walk us through every tornado scene from Twister and Twisters, comparing how they're different and how they help tell their respective stories. And in the end, maybe you'll agree that Twisters is the real suck zone.
It's the suck zone.
But first, let me thank the sponsor of this video, Exter. I've been using Exter's Parliament wallet for about half a year now, and it's fantastic. It's slim, holds everything I need, like cash and cards. But what I love about Exter is that they're always looking to improve their products. For instance, here's their old card holder, and here's the new card holder. They both come in multiple colors and block RFID to prevent wireless theft, but the new card holder now has zero plastic. Instead, it's now made of recycled aluminum. That means the card ejector, which is my favorite part of the wallet, is now made of metal and now holds more cards than ever. And the new curved ergonomic shape feels way more comfortable in my palm. Perhaps the biggest upgrade Exter has done is with their tracker card. The old version was chunkier and you had to download a secondary app in order to use it, but now it's ultra slim, basically the size of a credit card, and slides right into your wallet. And you can track your wallet on the Find My app on your phone. If you already have an Exter wallet, make an upgrade. Get something slimmer that holds more cards. Or if you've never had an Exter wallet, now is the perfect time to see the best that Exter has to offer. They have a Black Friday sale coming up that will have items 50% off, but fans of Entertaining Elk can get up to 55% off. Just click on the link in my description and be sure to use my unique code ETheElk at checkout in order to get that extra discount. Thanks again to Exter for sponsoring this video, and now let's get back to the essay. Right from the jump, you can tell that Twister is using aesthetics from the horror genre, walking the line between a monster movie and a slasher movie, the isolated home, the ominous warnings on TV building the suspense. Like a lot of horror movies, a lot of the terror is riding on the sound design, and that's something that Twister really nails. Of course, there's the howling wind, but there's also growls and roars that really give the tornado personality, like some monster lurking in the dark. The second tornado scene carries a lot of story weight. Before we ever see a tornado on screen, we meet who might be the most important character in the story. Not Joe, not Bill, not even the lovable Dusty. It's Melissa.
Dr. Melissa Reese here.
Melissa's character serves two purposes. First, she's our window into this unique world of storm chasing. All of the context, exposition, and science jargon is fed to us through her. But not only is she the surrogate for the audience, she also serves the story by adding tension and drama, as she's the new fiancé coming between Joe and Bill. A lot of the story wouldn't work as effectively without Melissa. Besides Melissa, we're also introduced to our slimy antagonist, Dr. Miller, who we're told is a nightcrawler with zero integrity.
He's in it for the money, not the science.
Now for the actual tornado. This is when we get our first good look at a tornado on screen. There's this operatic music that plays that cues us into how awe-inspiring this all is. It's both beautiful and terrifying. The tornado quickly turns into this dark monster that growls and chases our main characters. Joe and Bill are trapped and starting to panic. Again, we see that this is a real threat, not something to be taken lightly.
Where's my truck?
Next, we have two water tornadoes. Instead of growling like the previous tornadoes, these have a gurgling sound, along with a shrieking whistle. Already, we're seeing some variance in the types of tornadoes. And moments later, one of the tornadoes splits into sisters. All these variations just give the tornado more personality. It feels like a true monster taking on different shapes and forms to attack our protagonists. And when it does attack them, it's always life or death. The next one introduces another variation to the tornadoes, making it feel like a fully formed villain that can attack in different ways. In this case, the tornado drops hail and other debris on the characters. It also jumps into the sky and has this eerily quiet moment that the characters refer to as
The cone of silence.
And before it drops back down on our characters, we get that same ominous growl, serving as a precursor to our monster reappearing.
You're right, it's back building. We got a jumper here.
This tornado is probably the most memorable moment from the entire movie, and it cements Twister as a bona fide horror movie. It's nighttime at a drive-in theater where they're showing The Shining, one of the most iconic horror movies of all time, and this scene beautifully parallels that moment in The Shining with its tone. The director, Jan de Bont, does a great job building suspense throughout the entire movie, but this might be the best moment. The TV cuts out, and the wind blows in through the window. It's quiet, but we know what's coming even if we can't see anything outside. We can't see the monster stalking us from the dark until it's too late.
It's coming! It's headed right for us!
And when it finally emerges with flashes of lightning, it's truly terrifying. We get the classic horror trope of everyone running, screaming, and hiding while the monster chases them, trying to kill our main characters by any means. Even the metal rim slices Preacher's forehead like a slasher movie. What's important about this tornado is that it seems to attack with purpose and intention, as it continues on to Wakita, where it destroys May's home, a place that's already been established as a refuge for our characters. When the tornado attacks May's home, it feels personal. Again, it makes the tornado feel like one unified monster that's constantly berating and taunting our characters. Everything builds to this final tornado, the final boss fight. And of course, it's an F5 that's already been established as the finger of God, the greatest force of destruction that is so rare that no one's seen it, except for Joe during the opening scene that killed her dad and sparked her obsession with tornadoes. The final tornado is this massive black swirl that really makes it look like a classic movie monster. To give this specific tornado personality and variation, it throws whatever it can at our main characters. Oil tanker, tractors, even a house.
I think we're going in!
It really feels like a final boss fight with the lead up to the final confrontation. But there's an important moment before that final confrontation that we need to talk about. The death of Dr. Miller, and why it's important. Now, this is a classic trope in horror movies. I mean, they even talk about it in Scream with the rules of surviving a horror movie.
There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a horror movie.
It falls under the same rules of no sex and no drugs and alcohol. Jamie Kennedy's character in Scream calls it
The sin factor. It says sin, it's an extension of number one.
But sin can come in many forms, like the blood-sucking lawyer in Jurassic Park and Burke, the corporate rep in Aliens. Both are blinded by greed and have a selfish moment of self-preservation, leaving others for dead that inadvertently leads to their own death. These moments offer a balance to the story, like some kind of filmic morality, and Twister follows suit. Dr. Miller, who we've already seen time and time again as a dirtbag, more focused on money than actually helping anyone, is blinded by greed. Even when Bill and Joe try to help him, he refuses to listen to reason.
Eddie, I know you can hear me. Turn around now! Get out of there!
and that sin factor results in a gruesome death for him and his partner.
Stupid!
Okay, now back to the final confrontation. We get the triumphant moment where our characters succeed in their mission. Dorothy finally flies, and it feels triumphant, like the final blow to the monster.
Dorothy's flying!
But this monster has one final death rattle before it goes down, and that results in a classic horror chase scene. As our heroes run and hide, they get a glimpse inside the belly of the beast, which feels very reminiscent of the unmasking scene in a lot of horror movies. We finally see under the mask during the villain's final breath, before it eventually dies and the nightmare is over. Okay, so those are the 6 tornado scenes from Twister. There's personality, variation, and it all builds to a satisfying conclusion. Now let's examine the 6 tornado scenes from the sequel, Twisters. In our opening scene, we're introduced to our main character, Kate, and her team of storm chasers. Dorothy is back, but now the objective is collapsing a tornado instead of just predicting one, which is interesting enough. This is when you miss a character like Melissa, who can serve as our window into this world. Instead of natural exposition, we just get clunky science jargon dumped on us. That's a reoccurring problem throughout the entire movie.
First, we gotta find a tornado to suck up our super absorbent polymers in these barrels.
Lagrangian mechanics. A moving sensor can't give you the exact measurement of wind speed.
And when that warm air and moisture bust through the cap, it explodes in the atmosphere, creating an anvil.
Fujiwara effect! Fujiwara effect!
We need it to precipitate out more.
Testing the Goldilocks principle of a tornado by modifying the variables.
Finally, when the tornado is introduced, it's done in the most boring way possible. I mean, the whole scene lacks clarity. First, we can't see anything. It's just a swirl of gray. And you might say, hey Adam, you loved the opening scene from the original Twister, and you couldn't really see the tornado then either, and you're right. But when you can't see something on screen, it needs to come alive in other ways. What Twister did so well is that it created mood and suspense through the sound design. Just listen to the 2 opening scenes and you can hear the difference. In Twisters, the screams and music completely drown out what little sound effects they give the tornado. It has 0 personality. The eerie growls and whistles from the original are gone. The tornado isn't really scary at all. The plot also lacks clarity. When the experiment doesn't work, we aren't told until much later in the movie why it didn't work. I mean, I assumed that Kate accidentally created the F5 tornado that ended up killing her friends, which I think would have been an infinitely more interesting character arc and storyline for Kate, who's just kind of a lame Mary Sue archetype in desperate need of flaws. See, this is what I meant when I said I knew I was in trouble with this movie.
Man, I love Oklahoma.
Oh, shut up! Turn him off. Sure.
The second tornado scene reinforces that this is not a horror movie, which I think is a big mistake. That's what made the original Twister work so effectively. I guess Twisters is supposed to be more of an action movie, but honestly, I don't really know what I'm supposed to be feeling when I see a tornado on screen. The loud country music makes it feel like this is supposed to be fun, like a roller coaster, when I thought that tornadoes were supposed to be scary. In my opinion, the biggest sin of Twisters is how they trivialize the tornadoes. They declaw them, defang them, so most of the tornadoes aren't even scary at all. In this scene, Tyler and his team drive right into the tornado and fire off fireworks. I mean, there's no interesting sound design to help bring the tornado to life. You can barely even hear it. Where's the threat? Where is the drama and suspense? The next tornado scene is accompanied with another terrible needle drop that always feels the need to either spoon feed the dynamics of the story to me or constantly remind me that we're in Oklahoma. On the way to the tornado, there's this cross-cutting moment between our 2 main characters, Kate and Tyler. As they're seemingly saying the same science jargon,
We see the hook on the radar, but
What are all the invisible factors coming together?
I think their chemistry works at times, but scenes like this really reinforce that they're both kind of the same character. There's not a lot of combative tension that made the original movie work so well. Ben is the outsider, naive and terrified, And while Ben does work for some exposition dumps, he doesn't really add anything else to the story. As opposed to Melissa, who added conflict as the new fiancé coming between Joe and Bill. The entire time Ben is working on some article that we never hear about. It just doesn't really ever mean anything. Finally, there's some variation in the tornadoes with them splitting into twins.
We got twins! Twins!
But again, these tornadoes are just overshadowed by loud music. The characters are so focused on toying with the tornado, and now they're able to anchor safely to the ground, that all drama is just removed. When the tornado does finally turn into a threat, there's some interesting shots that really display its destruction. But even then, the sound design is just all wrong.
Come on!
All the tornadoes have the same muted whoosh sound that never changes. The fourth one attempts to recapture the same dynamic of the original's night tornado, but whereas Twister expertly and slowly built the suspense, this tornado just kind of pops up after some leaves blow in and everyone's phones start buzzing. There's zero mood, zero atmosphere being built. I really appreciate how director Lee Isaac Chung tries to make the moment in the pool look like a oneer. And the darkness helps give the tornado some personality and variance, but a lot of these tornadoes feel disconnected. In the original, all the attacks almost felt like one cohesive character, stalking our main characters, making their lives miserable. I don't understand what the director wants me to feel when I see a tornado on screen. In the original Twister, there's always a sense of awe and horror, but the intention changes time and time again with Twisters. Sometimes it's supposed to be scary, sometimes it's supposed to be a roller coaster, and here, Kate and Tyler just casually take pictures of one. I mean, they might as well be bird watching. The final tornado is the first one that really feels in a similar vein to the tornadoes from the original. There's some unique variation with the fire tornado. Still not interesting from an audio perspective, but the visual is cool. The tornado is massive and finally has some darker colors. I don't understand why they had all the tornadoes the same shade of blue-gray against a blue-gray sky. And just compare the posters from Twister and Twisters. One actually looks like a monster. It's more visually interesting than a desaturated swirl of gray. But at least with this final tornado, it actually feels like a real threat, with people running and screaming for their lives. This scene mostly works, but there are a few missteps worth mentioning. One, I think the ending would have landed better if they made the attack more personal, like by demolishing Kate's hometown or her mom's house. Just something that would put more skin in the game for our main characters, as opposed to a random town. In Twister, they made it personal for our characters by attacking May's house, which I already mentioned was like a refuge for them, a safe haven. By attacking May, it really pressed the urgency. Our characters had to keep going forward to solve this conflict. Two, there's a big opportunity missed with the antagonist of this movie. Javi rides the fence and gets to have his moment of redemption at the end, so I guess that makes Scott the face of this ruthless corporation, but his character is so underutilized compared to Cary Elwes' character from the original, and when it comes time for his comeuppance, because again of the aforementioned sin factor, there isn't any great filmic morality moment like in Twister. Scott is just left on the side of the road, whining with some mud splattered on him. This could have been a great opportunity just to reinforce how dangerous these tornadoes are with a gnarly death scene, but no. 3, I can appreciate how the film tries to call back to the original movie with the horror movie playing at the movie theater. They're trying to make a connection between Frankenstein's monster coming to life and this tornado coming to life. But it's not really earned. Half the time in this movie, they don't even treat the tornado like a monster. It's just another example of the tone being all over the place. Okay, is this video just a thinly veiled excuse to bitch about Twisters? Yes. Yes, it is. I honestly just don't understand why people like this movie so much. And to like it more than the original is just insane to me. The romance, action, suspense, characters, music, sound design, Twister is better in literally every way. In a behind-the-scenes video of the making of Twister, director Jan de Bont talks about his creative intention with the tornadoes.
I think it's really important that your antagonist has a personality, and basically we have 6 of those. And that personality had to change. So I really felt very strongly about creating different sound effects for each one. I wanted the tornado to talk to them. I wanted to get a sense like it's a living thing.
And it's that personality and variation in the original Twister that really makes all the difference. All you have to do is compare the tornado scenes. Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did like it, please share it with a friend. Leave a comment below, just in some way engage with this video. It always helps appease the algorithm gods, so that way they share it with more people. I'd also love a comment to hear what you think about Twisters versus Twister. Which do you like better? Did you like the new movie? Please just maybe convince me onto your side. What am I missing about this new movie? If you didn't see in my last video, I also announced that I launched a new film podcast called 50 States of Cinema, in which I have guests on from different states. They talk about their experiences of living in that place, the good, the bad, and the weird, and then we dissect a movie from that state to see what it got right and what it got wrong, and just what we love or don't love about the movie. The 8-episode first season is already done. Now I'm on a short break, preparing for season 2, hoping to make it bigger, better, and I'd love you to come on board. Go check it out wherever you listen to podcasts. It can be on Apple, Spotify. Again, just search 50 States of Cinema. And if you do check out the show, reach out here. I'd love to hear what you thought of the show, ways to improve it, any other kind of thoughts or criticisms. Just looking to make that podcast the best it can be. If you aren't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Click the stupid bell below so that way you don't miss any new videos whenever they come out. And I will see you all very soon with another video.